Hey y'all! Okay, listen up. This is going to be a long answer on Tuesday's answered question day. So if you're not interested in the question, just move along. Move along and go listen to something fun, because this is not a fun one. Yeah, we're talking about child sexual abuse. One of my not so favorite subjects. The question is from a mother, and the question is about her daughter, who was, she says, sexually abused at, I'm reading her question. Sexually abused when she was 2.5 years old. She disclosed her abuse to me when she was 3.5. I took her to therapy and she recovered well. Yay! Yay, Mom! She's now 13 and has no recollection of her abuse. When she finished therapy at the age of 4.5, her therapist told me that she may need to re-enter counseling when she grows into puberty adolescence. Yeah, probably. I had her in therapy last year for her anxiety and it helped. And she's observing in her behavior that signs of sexual abuse. She has an underlying feeling of being bad, and she's sneaking out of the house and drinking. Also, I see her very interested in older guys, high school age, and very interested in over-sexualized images of females. Some of this I know is normal, but as you can imagine, it's difficult to discern, and I worry about her self-esteem, her drowning feelings in sex and alcohol, etc. Yeah. My question is, how do you parent someone who is a survivor without telling them that they are a survivor? That's, I mean, the reason I've read all that, because it's like literally that's a big one, because it's like, well, she did disclose to you when she was 2.5 and you got her in therapy then, but now she's at 13. She's now showing a lot of the signs, the over-sexualized, the getting into drugs and alcohol, sneaking out, misbehaving. Yeah, that is, first of all, not necessarily about child sexual abuse. It's our society many times, comes from many other reasons, but when you put child sexual abuse in the equation, it usually has a lot to do with that. Now, I want to interject here, I want to interject you like my blue fingernails. They're chipping finally after weeks. It's great. So I want to put in here, I am not a therapist. Not a therapist, but I've been through it, seen it, done it, been there, and talked to many people and seen many thousands of people go through it, heal from it, move on. So I'm sharing only from what I have seen and experienced myself. Not a therapist. You should always talk to a professional therapist, even though so many of them are fucking crazy. What? I personally prefer marriage and family therapists. I think they're awesome. Shrinks really scare me. They make me nervous. They scare me. Especially having talked to many survivors, especially some of them who were like really affected by their past, and they are now growing up to become shrinks. It's really scary. So I teeter on that, like, talk to a professional. I'm not a therapist. But therapists are great. Shrinks are weird. What? Don't take meds. Anyway. So these are only the opinions expressed by Angela Shelton. Here's what I think. It's a touchy subject, because at 13, if you tell her that she went through this, she may very well get mad at you. It's like, yeah. You know, so it's a touchy territory, and I don't know what a therapist would say, because, like I said, I'm not a therapist. But I say talk about it, and in talking about it, you tell your own story. Because the best way to get across to young people, and everybody in general, is to be open about yourself. It allows someone else to be open about themselves. Now, a great way to bring up the subject of like, hey, whoa, let's talk about this. Oh, and by the way, me too. And by the way, you disclosed to me when you were 2.5. And maybe we should talk about that. A great way to bring that up is to watch the documentary. I'm telling you, Searching for Angela Shelton, not to plug my own movie, but it is an amazing icebreaker of that subject, and it really helps break the cycle of child sexual abuse. It's perfect because it is Child Sexual Abuse Awareness Month, even though that makes no sense to me. It's like, don't rape your kids in April. Yeah, months, times, weeks. What is it that we get a week or something? Women's Week? Well, it is. Anyway, it's a whole nother blog. This one is about talking to your kids. And the movie is an amazing way to do it because you can just, hey, let's watch this for Child Sexual Abuse Awareness Month. Let's watch it together as a family. 13, perfect age to watch it. I don't think that's too young at all. Yes, I do curse in the film after I confront my child abuser dad. Yeah, I do. And I say the F-bomb like 40 times. And it's totally okay. There is a version on the DVD of, an edited version where it's just like, you hear nothing, which I think it's better to hear it because, especially when you're possibly holding anger in yourself, it's a great way to, hey, they're like, oh yeah, me too, I need to do that too. Okay, the movie's a great way to icebreaker, but whatever you feel, you could go to a Take Back the Night, you could go to a Vagina Monologues, you could, whatever it is that's not about you two, to bring up the subject, you can watch the movie for free on Snag Films on your laptop. To bring up the subject, right? And then you talk about your own story. You know what? I went through that too. If you haven't told your daughter that, because I know that you have been through it too, that maybe it's a good idea. 13 is not too young, and it's an awesome bonding experience to share with her. Me too. And I really want to talk about your behavior. It's a touchy subject. But as far as keeping it a secret from her, I don't know if that's really fair. Here's the thing. I wouldn't want to know as far as like in telling her the past, in a way to bring it up and like, let's rehash this and go through the horrors of what happened. And oh my God, do you feel like, oh, let's bring that all up again? It's not a matter of like diving back into that hell, because I'm all about moving forward. But sometimes, to address our behavior that we're doing, we have to look at the past and how you got there. Because life is an Excel spreadsheet. And when, you know how Excel spreadsheet works, you have columns and you add everything together, and the C column equals the equivalent of A and B, blah, 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 right? So bringing up the past like that should only be for the end goal of addressing the equation on your Excel spreadsheet. Because life is an Excel spreadsheet. Whatever you've been through, list them out, of causes, effects of how your behavior, and then you add all that up, and then there's a whole list of potential outcomes from hooker to, drug addict to totally abusive person yourself, or to marrying an abusive person, and yada yada yada. So unless you change how you react to the first column, what's the outcome? So I think kids are really smart and really evolved, and I believe in talking straight up to them. I do. And why not just be honest and provide materials that are, a good therapist is obviously a good idea, but also I'm not really a big proponent of like, oh, you're going to be in talk therapy for the next 15 years in your life. No, it's like, we've all been through hell, right? And I think avenues to get out of hell are really helpful. And there are so many out there. That's why I started survivormanual.com years ago, was to have a place where every healing technique known to man can be like shared there. And the only rule is there's no debating on what works more than something else, because for some people, EMDR is a type of therapy that is awesome. And it's extremely helpful. I personally love NMT, neuromodulation technique. I did it twice, and I never had another panic attack. And it's totally this like completely new age wackadoodle healing technique. But some people might be like, that's crazy. We touch her, we like tiptoe around the subject so much. Like, oh God, I don't want to bring it up. Or what if it triggers her or him? And ooh, let's not talk about it. Let's just shush. Let's not talk about it. Oh yeah, that's what they told us when we were little kids. Like, oh, after the trial that we went through, oh, don't talk about it. Nobody's going to talk about it. But you do go down the road of like being promiscuous or marrying some asshole or whatever from, that your Excel spreadsheet will lead you to, unless you address the behavior. So I think bring it up. And, you could always blame me. Use me as your scapegoat. Say like, Angela Shelton says, or, Angela Shelton told me to show you this video. It's totally fine. Totally fine. I actually have teenagers, emailing me too, like, oh my God, I just found you, thanks. I'm a self-mutilator. That's what I see a lot with teenagers. And it's so, not shocking actually. It's upsetting to me that's like how so many people beat themselves up because of what somebody else did to them. I'm just like, what? But I understand it. I totally understand it. So I'm all about, you know what? Let's just lay it on the table. Let's talk about that big giant elephant in the room, and which is your behavior. And your behavior could be coming from when you were abused as a kid. And I don't want to say like that's a stigma, and that's not like a neon sign on your head like you're an abuse victim, you're an incest survivor. I hate all that stuff. Why? There's no reason we need to label ourselves like that. That said, it's a really great, it's important to call it out, because that little thing, that little piece can be one of the columns in the Excel spreadsheet that's causing all this behavior. And if you just into it, it can make all the difference in the world. Okay? So I say, bring it up. Teenage behavior like that is important to address, although you don't want to piss the teenager off, because sometimes they get all, it's like they have all the answers, they know everything. It's okay, but you might. That's why it's sometimes easier if you use someone else besides yourself. Like so and so says, a fabulous book that I highly recommend, and it's got sex in the title. They might be interested. I say you have to buy that book right now, and you read it, and you let your kid read it. It's so fascinating. It like talks about images of women in society and men and how we over-sexualize everything. It talks about that. It also talks about how, exactly what I just said, that she doesn't say the Excel spreadsheet, but of how whatever happened to you ends up causing your over-sexualized behavior, or incredibly like prude behavior too. So it can have many different outcomes. The super like cutesy, playful, like let me be a little girl and be like super like cutesy with you because that's how I was taught by my uncle or whatever it was. Like it's pretty fascinating when you just lay it out there and it's like right there in your face. Are you going to deal with it or are you not going to deal with it? Because then you have the choices of like, holy cow, okay, I'm really going to address my behavior. Or you can totally ignore it. And like I talk about in that workbook, the be your own hero, but the sword, you can leave the sword in. You can live in denial for the rest of your life. It's totally an option. But if you're completely in pain and affected by your Excel spreadsheet in life, it makes intimacy hard. It makes having a healthy sex life hard. It makes communicating with others difficult, being authentic in your life difficult, and like living happily ever after. I don't know. I don't think so. I think you gotta address some stuff. So that's my 2 cents on that. I say just lay it out. Of course, I'm not a therapist. And good job for talking about it. And those who heal others. So I think also deal with your own stuff, and it will trickle down to your kids. That's my 2 cents. Thanks for asking questions. I love answering them. And I would love questions of like, can you eat dandelions? Instead of like, for a little bit, instead of questions about child sexual abuse. It's like, oh man, I wish that we didn't have to ask these questions. I really do. So, peace be with you. Mwah.